Pay attention to Christine Banfield, 37, deep in sleep in the master bedroom of her elegant Reston, Virginia home in the pre-dawn hours of February 24, 2023. The monitor on her nightstand glows softly, connected to her 4-year-old daughter's room down the hall. Her phone sits beside it, silent. In another part of the house, the family's live-in au pair, 24-year-old Juliana Perez Magalhaes, is awake. The scene is one of suburban tranquility, the kind of peace earned by a life of hard work and success. Christine breathes evenly, completely unaware that the foundation of her world has already crumbled. She has less than 1 hour left to live. Because at that precise moment, her husband, Brendan Banfield, 39, is not in the family home he helped build. He is 5 miles away, sitting in the parking lot of a McDonald's on Reston Parkway, the greasy smell of fast food mixing with the scent of gun oil. He is performing final checks, his mind not on breakfast, but on bullet trajectories and blood spatter patterns. This final, restful sleep would be violently shattered by a home invasion staged from within. A meticulously planned double murder that would expose a deadly affair, orphan a child, and trigger one of Northern Virginia's most complex prosecutions, pitting 2 lovers against each other in a fight for their lives. This is the story of a conspiracy forged in secret between a husband and his child's nanny, a single morning of shocking brutality in one of America's safest counties, and the 22-month investigative odyssey that would see one conspirator flip on the other in a desperate bid for freedom. Christine Banfield, 37, was the picture of accomplished modern motherhood in Fairfax County. She and her husband Brendan lived in a coveted Reston neighborhood, a community of winding streets, good schools, and a pervasive sense of security. Their home was not just a house, it was a testament to their dual career success, a sanctuary they had filled with the joys of raising their bright 4-year-old daughter. To manage their demanding professional lives, Christine in a respected corporate role, Brendan in his own field, they made a decision common among affluent, busy families. They hired live-in help. Enter Juliana Perez Magalhaes, 24. She arrived through a cultural exchange au pair program, vetted by an agency, her background checked. Her role was specific: to be a helping hand, a nurturing presence, a responsible caregiver for the Banfield's most precious treasure, their daughter. She moved into their home, sharing their meals, their routines, their trust. The arrangement represented the ultimate delegation of intimate family duty. For Christine, it was a practical solution to achieve work-life balance. For Brendan, as prosecutors would later allege, it became an opportunity for catastrophic betrayal. Brendan Banfield, 39, presented as a successful professional, a devoted father, a stable husband. But beneath this curated suburban exterior, a dangerous fracture was spreading. At some point in 2022, the professional relationship between Brendan and Juliana morphed into a secret romantic one. This was no mere office flirtation. This was an affair conducted under his wife's nose, in the very home they shared with their child. The stakes of discovery were apocalyptic. The collapse of his marriage, financial ruin in a divorce, loss of his child, and professional disgrace. Prosecutors would later piece together a timeline, suggesting that by early 2023, the affair had evolved into something darker, a conspiracy. The pressure of maintaining the secret, or perhaps the desire to start a new life unencumbered, allegedly twisted into a plot. The target was Christine. The motive, according to the Commonwealth's theory, was her elimination. But this would not be a crime of passion in a heated argument. Evidence would suggest this was a planned, financial, and logistical operation. They needed to make it clean. They needed an alibi. They needed to redirect suspicion. And tragically, they needed to remove the one person who stood between them and a future together, Christine Banfield. Joseph Ryan, 38, enters the story as a critical, mysterious figure. His connection to the Banfield household is the case's great enigma. Was he a friend of Christine's who had grown suspicious? A business associate of Brendan's who knew too much? Or was he, in a sinister twist, someone whose presence was part of the plot? A patsy, or a witness who needed to be silenced? His role would become the fulcrum of Juliana's eventual plea deal. The plan, such as it was, culminated in the early morning of Friday, February 24th, 2023. The house was quiet. Christine slept. The child slept. Juliana was awake, her role as caregiver now horrifically repurposed. Brendan Banfield was not home. At approximately 5:30 a.m., his vehicle was captured on traffic cameras traveling away from his Reston neighborhood. His destination? The McDonald's on Reston Parkway. This was not a random stop for a coffee. In the world of criminal planning, fast food parking lots are modern-day neutral territories, anonymous, open 24 hours, with constant traffic that makes any single vehicle unremarkable. It is here, prosecutors would argue, that Brendan Banfield performed his final preparations. He may have retrieved a weapon from a hiding place in the car or from an accomplice. He certainly used the time to steel his nerve, to run through the sequence one last time. The McDonald's visit is the hallmark of premeditation. It represents a conscious pause between normal life and monstrous action, a geographical and psychological point of no return. By 6:15 a.m., he was back at the family home. He entered not as a husband returning from an errand, but as an assassin entering his own domain. What happened in the next 15 minutes was a storm of violence so intimate and brutal, it would scar the very walls of the house. The Commonwealth's theory, supported by forensic evidence and Juliana's eventual statements, paints this scene. Brendan, now armed, entered the master bedroom. Christine was likely roused from sleep, confronted not by a stranger, but by her own husband. The attack was swift and vicious. She was stabbed multiple times, killed in the bed she shared with the man who had vowed to protect her. The violence was not a single frenzied act. It was targeted, ensuring there would be no survivor. But the plot had already gone awry. Joseph Ryan was present. His arrival, whether planned or unexpected, created a catastrophic complication. The theory suggests Ryan may have come to the house that morning, perhaps to meet Christine for an early workout, to discuss a work project, or on a pretext set by Brendan or Juliana. He walked into an active crime scene. A confrontation ensued. This time, the weapon was a firearm. Brendan Banfield, according to the indictment, shot Joseph Ryan, killing him. The use of a gun, loud, ballistic, forensically distinct from a knife, suggests a shift from a quiet, planned murder to a chaotic, desperate cover-up. Throughout this dual homicide, a silent, wide-eyed witness experienced every terrifying sound and shadow. The Banfield's 4-year-old daughter. She was in the home. She may have been in her room, or she may have wandered out, drawn by the noise. She saw things. She heard things. The trauma inflicted upon her formed the basis for the later additional indictments against Brendan: felony child abuse/neglect and felony child cruelty. His alleged crimes were not just against his wife and Joseph Ryan, but against the psychological well-being of his own child, whom he exposed to unimaginable horror. In the immediate aftermath, the house fell into a grotesque silence, broken only by the whimpers of a terrified child. 2 adults were dead. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Magalhaes were now bound by blood and secret. The next phase was the cover-up. Did they try to stage a burglary? Did they attempt to clean the scene? Did they coordinate their stories? The presence of the child complicated everything. She was a witness who could not be disposed of, a living, breathing repository of memory. The Fairfax County Police Department's Major Crimes Bureau arrived at a complex, bloody puzzle. This was not a straightforward domestic dispute turned deadly. This was a scene with two different victims killed by two different methods, sharp force and gunshot, a present child, a live-in nanny, and a husband with no immediately apparent injuries. The initial story provided by Brendan and Juliana would have been scrutinized, picked apart by detectives trained to see through the performance of grief. The investigation was methodical and slow, spanning 19 months. Detectives would have dissected financial records, looking for life insurance policies, debt, or transfers of money. They would have extracted digital footprints, text messages between Brendan and Juliana, search histories, location pings from their phones that placed them together at unusual times. They would have forensically examined the scene, determining blood spatter patterns, trajectories, and the sequence of events. The child would have been interviewed by specialists, her fragmented recollections carefully gathered. The first crack in the conspirators' united front appeared in October 2023. Juliana Perez Magalhaes was arrested and charged with murder and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony for the death of Joseph Ryan. This charge was highly specific. It suggested prosecutors believed she played a direct, active role in Ryan's killing, perhaps handing Brendan the gun, or, in a more shocking scenario, being the one who pulled the trigger herself. Her arrest signaled that investigators did not buy her story of being a terrified bystander. They saw her as a participant. For the next 11 months, Brendan Banfield walked free, but the noose was tightening. Every day Juliana sat in jail, the pressure mounted. Her legal team would have been presented with the mounting evidence: the digital trail of the affair, the financial motive, the forensic proof placing her at the center of the events. The prospect of facing a murder trial in Virginia, with its potential for life without parole, became an existential threat. The dam broke on October 29, 2024. In a Fairfax County courtroom, Juliana Perez Magalhaes stood before a judge and pleaded guilty to manslaughter for the death of Joseph Ryan. This was a staggering reduction from a murder charge. In the calculus of the justice system, such a deal has one primary currency: cooperation. By pleading to manslaughter, Juliana almost certainly signed a proffer agreement, a contract with the prosecution where she agreed to provide full, truthful testimony against Brendan Banfield in exchange for a reduced sentence. She would tell them everything: the origin of the affair, the development of the plot, the discussions at McDonald's, the precise roles each played that morning. Her sentencing was set for March 21, 2025, where a judge would decide her fate based on the value of her cooperation. With his co-conspirator now a witness for the state, Brendan Banfield's position collapsed. He was arrested on September 16, 2024, and initially charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder, reflecting multiple victims and the alleged financial/for-profit motive, and 1 firearm charge. But the Commonwealth wasn't done. On December 16, 2024, Commonwealth's attorney Steve Descano held a press conference. A grand jury had returned new indictments against Brendan Banfield: 1 count of felony child abuse and neglect, and 1 count of felony child cruelty. Descano stated, "Additional information has come to light over the course of our investigation, and we believe these additional charges reflect the events that occurred in the house on that day." This additional information was the testimony of Juliana Perez Magalhaes, detailing the child's traumatic experience. These charges were a strategic masterstroke, painting Brendan not just as a killer of adults, but as a destroyer of his own child's innocence, a narrative with profound power before a jury. As the case stands, 2 future court dates hold the fates of the accused. February 3, 2025, Brendan Banfield's trial is scheduled to begin. He will face a prosecutor armed with Juliana's testimony, a mountain of digital and forensic evidence, and the devastating emotional testimony of Christine's and Joseph Ryan's families. The defense will likely attack Juliana's credibility, painting her as a manipulative liar who orchestrated the plot and is now blaming the husband to save herself. They will delve into Brendan's life, searching for any mitigation. But the central drama will be the courtroom showdown between the former lovers, with Juliana on the stand, pointing a finger at Brendan, detailing their secret meetings, their planning sessions, and the final, bloody execution in the Reston home. March 21st, 2025. Juliana Perez Magalhaes will be sentenced for manslaughter. Her fate hinges entirely on the performance of her cooperation. Did her testimony prove crucial, honest, and damning against Brendan? If the prosecution believes she held nothing back, she may receive a sentence of 10 to 15 years, with the possibility of deportation back to her home country after release. If the judge feels she is still minimizing her role, she could face decades behind bars. Her future is a bargaining chip held by the state, a stark lesson in the consequences of conspiracy. The Banfield case is a modern American tragedy that echoes timeless themes: betrayal, greed, and the monstrous potential hidden behind a facade of normalcy. It raises agonizing questions about trust and vulnerability. We invite strangers into our homes to care for our children, operating on systems of vetting and faith. This case exposes the catastrophic risk when that trust is violated in the most intimate way possible. The deepest scars are carried by a now 6-year-old girl. She lost her mother to violence. Her father is accused of being the architect of that violence. The woman she knew as her caregiver is a convicted accomplice. Her entire world was not just broken. It was revealed to have been a carefully constructed lie ending in bloodshed. Her therapy, her recovery, her understanding of this trauma will be the work of a lifetime. For the families of Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, the trial will be a torturous but necessary journey. They seek answers more than vengeance. Why? How long was this planned? Was there a moment we could have seen it? Could we have saved her? The investigation stands as a testament to meticulous, patient police work in the digital age, building a case not on a single piece of evidence, but on a constellation of data points, financial records, and the ultimately fragile loyalty between criminals. The home in Reston stands as a silent monument to the horror. But the real story continues in courtrooms, in therapy sessions for a little girl, and in the hearts of families forever changed by a plot that began with a secret in a suburban home and a meeting in a McDonald's parking lot at dawn.